Okay, we're going to start our webinar now. It's 1 o'clock. Hello, everybody. Welcome to International Helmet Awareness Day discussions at Dover Saddlery. Today we have a really exciting topic. We're going to be talking about the MIPS protection program, the format that the Charles Owen company has incorporated into their helmets. And my name is Whitney Keeley, and I'm here with Jill Waterman from Dover Saddlery. Jill is our Director of Merchandising, and we're so pleased to have Danielle Santos here from Charles Owen. For those of you who are not familiar with the Charles Owen brand, Charles Owen is really the company that has set the lead in safety, fit, and comfort for protective wear for riders. So helmets, body protectors. The company has been in business for over 100 years. It's a family-owned business, and their whole mission has been dedicated to making riding safer for our industry. So we are so pleased to have Danielle here to talk about MIPS. This is really an exciting new protective system, and a lot of people have a lot of questions around it. So we're going to flush through that today. I just want to remind everyone that the International Helmet Awareness Days event runs through Tuesday. It's a great time to get a nice deal on a helmet if you need a new one or if you're looking around. But I would also urge you to take advantage of all the information and content that Dover has on their site, in their stores. We have product advisors on our chat lines. All of our store associates have expertise in this field, and we have learned a lot from Danielle herself. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Danielle.
Thanks, Whitney, and thanks, Jill. You guys, the invitation has been a wonderful opportunity to talk about safety with everybody, especially during Helmet Awareness Weekend. So I wanted to start out with Charles Owen took into their line of helmets the MIPS technology, multi-directional impact protection system, about 18 months ago, and we found that it is an amazing add-on to your safety of your helmet. So while we suggest all the time to really look at helmets that have multiple standards, the MIPS system is an add-on to protect your brain. And it's been well adopted, well proven in other sports such as skiing, cycling, motorcycles, that it actually does add to your protection. So I think that the opportunity to have it in equestrian is so amazing. So I wanted to start out first and share a video that we have directly from MIPS, which is kind of an interesting perspective of how MIPS works. And we'll start with that. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And I'm going to so you can see that that really kind of puts it into light, that it's really about how you fall. And as we can see, the MIPS industry, or the MIPS technology, the people who brought it about, do believe that it's making helmets safer. So it's really adding to the safety standards and the protection your helmet already has. So in order to understand how MIPS works, because MIPS actually has some elements that are important to understand, I think it's important to understand how a helmet protects you by itself, you know, the anatomy of a riding helmet. So I'm going to share my screen again and show you, show you an infographic. And this is the layers of the Charles Owen helmet. So from the outside in, you're looking at four versions or 4 layers of protection in every helmet. Every helmet has these 4 layers. And one of the things that we've really focused on is making each one of these layers extraordinarily functional in terms of protecting you. The outermost layer of your helmet is actually your suede, your velvet, your matte finish paint, your gloss paint, the textured paint of your cross-country skull. This actually allows your helmet to slip across the ground. So if you look at a velvet, it moves as you run your hand across it. Same with suede, and of course paints are always very smooth. So as you slip across the ground, you're actually allowing some of the energy of the impact to be dissipated. The next level is your fiberglass or plastic shell. Some helmets have fiberglass as their shell, and that is the hard exterior. That hard exterior was initially put into helmets to protect against skull fracture. And what this shell does, whether it's fiberglass or plastic, and it's actually high-grade plastic in all riding helmets, it is actually going to spread the force of the impact before it gets to the expanded polystyrene. And that expanded polystyrene, the 3rd layer, is the microscopic bubble wrap. So that is the main element of protection for your brain. And what happens is they're initially beads, which are formed into the polystyrene layer by steam, and they actually burst in order to slow your brain down before it hits the side of your skull. And that's what protects against concussion, brain bleeds, and obviously worse. That expanded polystyrene is also what is important to protect. That's the main material in the helmet that is susceptible to extreme heat. So, when you're protecting your helmet like you would your head, that's the element that you're actually trying to protect. The 4th layer, and the layer that people probably know the least about, is the headband. So the headband is actually what grips onto your skin, which grips onto your scalp, that keeps your helmet in place and stable. So this includes the comfort padding, the sizing foam, and of course, the layer of the headband that is going to grip onto your scalp. So I'm going to switch back and talk about that. So I'm going to grab a traditional Air 8 helmet. And so you can see in your regular helmets without the MIPS layer that it actually has kind of a textured headband. That actually holds onto your skin. And what it does is it keeps the helmet in place and allows your brain's natural, or your head, your natural mechanism of 5 millimeters to protect you in a fall. And what is this? This is your brain's natural ability to slow down the impact. And that 5 millimeters is what MIPS has decided that they can make better by extending it to 10 to 15 millimeters. So if you were to trip and fall just on concrete, your head would slow your brain down just by having that little bit of slippage on your skin, on your scalp. The MIPS allows for some, actually I'm going to grab the MIPS layer. Apologies that wasn't. So this is the MIPS Demo. So this, if you can see it moving, is the MIPS workings. This is how your helmet works on the inside. And this is 10 to 15 millimeters of movement. What that will do is it will protect your brain within your skull so that it's actually absorbing some of that energy and making sure that the energy is not going to cause more concussion or brain bleeds. So having that, this is the helmet with MIPS, and this with all the red and the orange is the helmet without MIPS. And that's a pretty big difference in an add-on product for your helmet. So we adopted the MIPS technology back in early 2019 in a range of our helmets, and obviously we will be developing more as January comes to us and launching more MIPS range in our helmets. But really and truly, you're looking at the movement of your brain being reduced. And when you reduce that movement of your brain within your skull, you automatically will reduce the incidence of concussion and brain bleed and other types of head injury. So when we do put our helmets, when we do fit our helmets, we want to make sure that your helmet is not so snug that you're not getting that movement. And I'm not sure if you can see this liner moving, but you want to have a little bit of movement when you put your helmet on and it's snug, so that you will see that level of movement. That's what's going to add on the protection of your safety standards. So why do we want MIPS helmets? You know, that is the burning question that everybody seems to be asking. Why would I want to have MIPS in my helmet? So what the founder of MIPS has realized is that a lot of falls are not straight down. You don't fall straight down. We talk about lawn darts, but in fact, we don't go directly straight on our head, and we don't belly flop. A typical rider trajectory in their fall is at an angle. And what that ends up doing, as you saw in the video, is that it actually will enable MIPS to take some of that tangential force and reduce it so that you actually have less rotational motion in your brain. So when I say rotational motion, a lot of people actually take that to mean rotational falls, which happens in cross country. And it's not the same sort of rotation. So rotational falls are obviously when a horse flips over a jump and the rider could possibly be crushed. Rotational motion within your brain is actually the amount of movement of your brain that turns. And that is a very, that is something we definitely want to avoid. It is a very dangerous sort of situation for your brain to be rotating within your skull. So MIPS doesn't protect you necessarily in a rotational fall. It's protecting you from the rotation of your brain. So it's two separate types of rotation. And we see that a lot, that people hear the word rotation and they think that that rotation is something exterior to you. No, it's actually within your brain. And movement with your brain, we all know that any movement of your brain inside your skull is bad news, no matter what sport you're doing. We want to be able to reduce that. And MIPS has found a way to reduce that in some way. And I think that's really important. And that's the important takeaway. So I know that's a lot of information to take in a very short time. If anybody has any questions, and we could talk a little bit more about whether it's the layers of the helmet, whether it's the MIPS technology itself, whether it's about fit within MIPS. Happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
I have a question. I'll kick it off. If you already have a helmet that you love and you want to get the MIPS technology incorporated, is there a way to do that, or would you need to purchase a new helmet?
So there isn't a retrofit of an already in use helmet. Most companies in the equestrian have decided to integrate their MIPS liners into their helmets. So really a new purchase of a helmet would be great.
Mhm.
What we have found is that that addition of MIPS certainly helps when the speeds of your riding go up, whether you're talking about from walk to trot, trot to canter, canter to gallop.
Mhm.
But that little bit of additional dissipation of force and energy will help you in any sort of fall. So unfortunately, you know, they can't take your helmet and
Mhm.
retrofit it after you've been wearing it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The technology is out there now. And you have, the Charles Owen brand has a lot of different options for MIPS.
Yes, we have the MIPS, which is the one I have here.
Okay.
So the MIPS has a modern helmet look. It's quite deep and it comes back down both behind your ears. The ear has slight cutout. And it does fit quite well, especially for rounder heads. And it has a shorter back, which has a tendency to be a more modern style that people seem to like.
So
We
that's,
also,
I'm sorry. So that butts up to the question I had, Danielle. Can you explain the change in the profile of the helmet? I mean, when we talk about having more protection, we always think there might be a bit more bulk associated with that fit. Is that the case, or does it fit pretty? Is it pretty sleek? You know,
it's definitely sleek. When we talk about this particular helmet is a 6 7/8, and I am actually a 7 1/8. So it would be the same shell, the same shell. This one wouldn't fit me because it's 2 sizes smaller, but the exterior would be the same for the 7 1/8 and the 6 7/8. So what we're looking at is a very streamlined look. And of course, you're talking about a liner, and I'm not sure if I can take this out. You're talking about a very, very thin, I'm gonna grab it to see if I can. You're talking about a very, very thin liner. So it's not quite a size in width or in depth. So we do see some people who are at the top of their size range may have to go to the next size up. But if they're at the bottom of their size range, they may be able to stay in the same helmet size. But when you look at the exterior of the shell, it doesn't look any bigger, just a slightly different look.
super. Is there any difference in the way you fit a MIPS helmet than the way you fit a regular helmet?
Yes, you do want it to continue to be snug. You definitely want to have that firm handshake feel as you walk out the store. But what you'll end up having is a little bit of movement. If you don't have any movement, it might be too tight. And the only problem with that is that it will just make your head heat up, which will make you uncomfortable. It is not necessarily a safety feature that you're causing a problem with, but you want to have a little bit of movement. You don't want it to rock back and forth on your head, and you don't want it to have so much play that you can tell that it's not gripping your scalp, because the gripping of your scalp is the most important. And like every other helmet, you want it to be snug all the way around. Just like you want to walk out of the store with no gaps, and we see a lot of times gaps at the back corners of our heads, no gaps in your helmet, up under your helmet. We also have the skull cap, the MS1 Pro, which is a very affordable jockey skull that a lot of event riders have taken to. And it is an extraordinary price point. And to answer the questions that people may be having, because of course, Charles Owen is manufactured beginning to end in the UK, but we had initially launched the MIPS because the owner of the company was of the belief that it shouldn't cost you a lot of money to be safe.
Good.
people with limited budgets should be able to get the same level of safety as somebody who's going to spend a lot of money. So the MIPS, which is this one, and then of course this has a wider brim, sun brim, which is actually a really nice level of coverage against the sun, and also the MS1 Pro Jockey Skull. And all of them are very affordable. The MIPS is well under 300. I believe it's 250. And then the one with the wide brim is slightly more than that. And then the MS1 Pro is in the lower 200s, I believe.
That's nice. Not a large investment for what you get from it.
Exactly. A lot less than an emergency room visit.
That's right.
So.
Well, that was so interesting, Danielle. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions that's on the line? Please just bring them forward. You know, this is definitely an area that's not as well known to people. And I think we got so much information today, as Jill said, you know, the investment in having that extra layer of protection is well worth it. I know when you have kids riding out there, for sure, you want to make sure they're safe. So I think if no one has questions, which it doesn't appear, I'm going to close the webinar, but I want to thank Danielle so much for joining us, not just in today's webinar, but in all three of our topics. We covered fit, safety, and the MIPS technology, which they're all going to be posted on the Dover Saddlery website. And we will have that information for our customers ongoing. But I do really want to thank Danielle for spending this weekend with us and, you know, always pushing forward for safety in the helmet and body protective areas. So thank you, everyone. And thank you for riding with Dover. And we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.